Hello, this is Ian, and welcome to another video. Today we're doing another video on Hermitcraft Genesis. We are starting on Chapter 3. I'm going to aim for reading Chapter 3 and 4 today, but if we have more time we can read Chapter 5. I'm just going to go with the flow and see how it goes. But yeah, basically, there are captions to the video if you are interested in watching that while I'm building. But no, that's fine too. I'm just gonna read a story, and you can decide what you want to do there. And yeah, if you do like these, be sure to watch through it because you never know. Because this story is a little bit different. This book is a little bit different. Most of it doesn't take place in the Hermitcraft world, but that's okay. Because yeah, you gotta build out the world, build out the universe, and all that stuff, and sometimes you have to do that kind of stuff. I could do more Clockwork Chronicles stuff with random people. You never know. But yeah. It's not easy with hermits. I'm pretty sure there aren't any nearby towns where they live. As far as we know. Who knows? Chapter 3. Kate crept through the tall spruce forest, her feet crunching softly on the soft balsal earth. Her eyes blinked, trying to adjust to the pitch darkness of night. No stars could be seen. The moon also had disappeared. Yet the darkness didn't seem as dark to her as she expected. The forest was quiet, silent of any hostile mobs, or the usual daytime wildlife that scampered around during the day. It was almost as if the forest was sleeping. She felt her feet quickening their pace as something moved from the corner of her eye. A tall, muscular figure, cloaked in black, slunk in the shadows, not seeming to notice her as she cut by. An air of recognition filled her as she passed by a large pointed rock, covered in moss and green vines. Her footsteps moved with purpose as she realized it was dread. She couldn't change their path. No matter how much she tried, they still kept going forward, into the darkness, into the mist, as she passed an identical shadowy figure to the first, then a second, and a third. How many of them are there? Too many. The words filled her mind as she heard Scar's voice in her head. No, this couldn't be happening. Not again! She tried to command her feet to move, to go anywhere but where they were going, where they were leading. A cry broke through the forest, followed by running feet, crashing through the bushes, snapping twigs, and the gasps of panicked breathing. No, no, no! She commanded her feet to retreat, to give up its endless pursuit. She looked down at her feet at last. They were far bigger than her own, hidden underneath a long black cloak. No! Stay away from me, the familiar voice of her friend pleaded, the footsteps growing louder in the darkness. No, go the other way, Kate warned, unable to call out to her friend, to tell Scar he wasn't alone, that she was here, but he wouldn't be able to hear her. He couldn't hear her. Her blood ran cold as his familiar figure ran toward her, his green eyes wide with terror as he stopped in his tracks as the dark shadows surrounded him. No, you can't do this! Scar fell backward onto the soft puddle earth as she loomed over him. Kate was unable to keep the hand from reaching out for him. Grabbing the collar of his shirt, Scar squirmed in protest. You can't do this! I'm afraid it's already too late for you. The familiar voice chilled the air as the hermit froze, staring directly at Kate. But the girl knew he couldn't see her, only the face he feared most. No one can save you now. We're your friends. You're all doomed. You're wrong, Scar said shakily. as the hand slammed the hermit against the rough bark of the spruce tree. Scar groaned in pain, his eyes not leaving the face, as an iron dagger gleamed in the darkness. "They'll stop you. My friends will stop you." "They can't if they're all dead," the chilling voice taunted, as he plunged a dagger into the hermit's chest as Kate heard the agonizing scream. The scream echoed through the forest as Kate cried out, snapping her eyes open, to find herself in an unfamiliar room, pounding, her heart pounding in her ears. Where was she? Where was Scar? Was he okay? She blinked as reality came back to her. Scar was worlds away, safe in her hermit fortress with the other hermits, while here she was, in a luxurious mansion, having dinner with her parents, while her friends faced the greatest threat they'd ever seen. Yeah, that's typical. She reached up to rub the sleepers from her eyes, sitting up as she felt wetness on her cheeks. She'd be crying. Kate quickly wiped them away, hoping her parents hadn't heard her. The hermits didn't seem to have noticed the last time she had that nightmare. Again, it had left Scar physically hurtling himself out of bed and onto the floor. Had it happened again? Kate groaned, looking over at the curtained window, seeing the starlit sky above. The half-moon was just out of view from the window. She wondered if the hermits could see the same stars, even worlds apart. Maybe they could even see her world, if she could see theirs. She smiled at the thought. Her friends were looking out for her, wanted her to be safe just as much as she'd do anything to protect them. That's what friends did, wasn't it? Kate closed her eyes and sighed. How would she know? She never had many friends before her home was destroyed. Sure, she was sociable, but people were more interested in using her to get to her father than to truly know her for her. The hermits had been different, were different, and she didn't want anyone to take that from her. "Caitlin, is everything all right?" Her mother's voice came from the door as the crept silently open. Kate looked over, seeing her mother's eyes flash with concern. "Just a nightmare," Kate whispered. "I didn't wake you, did I? I'm a light sleeper," her mother smiled, stepping into the bedroom, closing the door behind her. "Fortunately, your father slept right through that." "I'm sorry." Kate looked away. "I'm not normally like that. It's got nothing to do with—" "Shh, I know, hon." Her mother crossed the room, putting a hand on the small of her back. "Sometimes nightmares just happen." Kate nodded, wiping the remaining tears away. "You won't tell Dad, will you? It can be between you and me." Her mother sat down beside her. Kate rested her head on her shoulder, letting out a sigh. "You want to talk about it?" "I don't know." Kate hesitated. "Did Clara tell you what happened?" "Is it related?" Her mother raised an eyebrow. "It's the second time I've had this nightmare." Kate swallowed. "Scar was in it." "He was?" She asked softly. Kate nodded. "He was running from someone. A lot of someone's. A man he was afraid of. A man that terrified him. So I did take everything from him." "Do you think that might happen?" her mother asked. "Funny thing is, he's had a dream like this before," Kate said quietly. "I can't say more than that. But something like it came true. And when I woke up from my nightmare, I realized we shared the same one." "Are you sure it wasn't a coincidence?" Lyra pressed. "It could be, but I saw those men surrounding him. That man that hurt him." Kate buried her face in her mother's shoulder. "I could see through the men's eyes when he put Scar to a tree and—" "Shh, it's okay. You don't have to tell me," her mother replied gently. Kate let out a sob. "There were so many of them, Mom. So many. And I couldn't stop it. I was forced to watch as they hurt him, cornered him, and pinned him to the tree. Maybe you should give him a call. Talk to him about it," Lyra suggested. But he seemed so relieved when Grian said no one had been dragged into his nightmare this time, Kay protested, pulling away. I don't want to ruin that. I don't want him to feel like it's his fault. I don't want him to. Yet I think it would help both of you if you knew you weren't doing it alone. Lyra smiled. Kay hesitated before she nodded. I missed the right there. Whoopsie. I'm scared what this dream might mean, Mama. I'm here, her mother said gingerly, stroking Kate's dark auburn hair. I know it's scary, but you have friends who can help you. I'm sure they'll find a way. They do have a way to enter a sort of dream dimension, Kate admitted. Help each other fight their nightmares. Then why not ask? Her mother asked. It's just... Kate swallowed, shaking her head. I don't want to give them more reason to worry about me. Julius has already scared them into thinking that Rhinestone might come back for me. She won't, Lyra said firmly. You're safe here, Caitlin. She doesn't know you're here, and she won't find out. Your father will make sure of that. But does he really understand how dangerous she is? Kate asked. She resurrected Skid just to torture him. She used guardian tech to drain beat up his life force. Lyra flinched. I'm sorry that happened. Clara will make sure nothing happens to your friends. I believe she'll do everything in her power. I trust her more than Dad right now, Kate muttered. Her mother chuckled. Do you trust me at least? Yeah, Kate met her mother's gaze. Smiled. Then do what you need to do. Her mother rose to her feet. Talk to Scar. See if you can arrange a session. But I don't know how to enter the dream world, or if I can. Clearly you've done it twice now, Caitlin Kimberly. A gleam shone in her mother's eyes. If anyone can figure it out, you can. I will, Mama, Kate whispered, watching her mother leave the room, closing the bedroom door behind her. Kate pulled out her communicator, resting it on her lap as she stared at it. Scar even believe her? What if her friends couldn't help her? That she was only able to access it if... No, she couldn't think that. She shouldn't think that. Gerald wasn't inside her. He couldn't be. He was dead. There was nothing left of him. He couldn't hurt anyone anymore. Not Scar, not Grian, not Impulse. No one. And yet... She knew who that man was in her dream. Scar definitely did as well. Why he hadn't said anything about it, she didn't know. Perhaps it terrified him too much. She understood that feeling completely, seeing the terror in his eyes, the helplessness of the situation. Gerald had almost won, had almost taken everything from him. Was he coming back from the dead, too? Again? Chapter 4. Kate took a deep breath and pressed the buttons she needed, setting up the cords before seeing Scar's icon showing up on the screen. She hesitated only for a moment before she pressed it, hoping he was still awake, hoping he wasn't trapped down alone in that horrible nightmare. Yeah, that sentence tripped me up because there was a word there that wasn't supposed to be there. That's all the reason. On the third buzz, the connection went through. Hello? Hi, do you have a minute? Kate whispered through the device. I'm sorry if you're trying to go back to sleep. It's fine. Scar chuckled before he paused. Wait, how did you know that? Lucky guess? Kate asked. No one's awake, right? Liam told me to try to get some sleep, but I've been having those nightmares again. Scar sighed. That stinks. Kate silently sighed in relief. You think you can slip away somewhere private? The main hall's okay. You know Liam's the light sleeper, Scar teased. I wouldn't be surprised if he can hear me right now. There was a pause of silence before he added, I actually can't tell if he is or not. Either he's good at pretending or he's actually asleep. Are you sure you'll be okay? Don't you have a concussion? Kate cautioned. Nope, it's all taken care of now. I'm good as new, Scar replied brightly. I wish you could see me. Same, Kate agreed. I've been having some nightmares myself lately. Thought maybe you could help me talk through it. I would love to, Scar said softly, before letting out a grunt. Before he chuckled. Okay, I'm in. Heading to the main hall now. Please be careful and don't go too far from the bedroom, Kate insisted. No one but us have access to the cameras in the base, Scar assured her. I'll stay away from the windows, though. Okay. Kate nodded, listening in silence as Scar carefully pushed open a bedroom door. The wheelchair was quieter than she remembered. Did you put on stealth mode? Yeah, why? Scar chuckled again. Kate could imagine a cheeky grin on the hermit's face. I'm just surprised I got away with that. Don't go far, Kate reminded him. Right outside the door. Good. Kate hesitated for a moment before she asked, do you think dreams have meaning, like my professor said? I don't know, sometimes, Scar remembered thoughtfully. I sure didn't expect Trevor to be more of a stand-in Mr. Right. Looks more like his brother. Kate giggled before she stopped herself. You mean the guy who first thought you were green? Technically, I led him to believe I was green, Scar corrected. I didn't know the guy very well, nor much about Green and his friends at the time, but I knew enough that RJ was bad. I'm sorry that happened, Kate admitted. You didn't pull the lever, so it's not your fault, Scar said simply. Besides, he's behind bars as far as we know. I hope they both stay that way. Kate shuddered. I'd hate the thought of meeting them. At the end of the day, they're broken people looking for justice in all the wrong places, Scar sighed. Just like Gerald. There was a long moment of silence, and Kate wondered if Scar was thinking about the nightmare. Has anyone asked you who you saw in those nightmares? Just tell me it was just a manifestation of my fears. Not that I would blame them. Kate swallowed. I think I fear something similar. You do? Scar asked, his tone of surprise. I've had this nightmare where I was walking through a spruce forest, and there were cloaked figures with me, walking, Kate said silently. The cloaked men reminded me of someone, especially when I realized the first time they were chasing. What were they? First time who he was chasing. Sorry, it's fine. There was a long moment of silence before Scar asked a little more firmly. Who was he chasing? Kate bit her bottom lip. Please don't hate me. Why would I do that? Scar pressed. Who was it? I was forced to watch what the man saw. Unable to take control as he marched through the forest to corner his victim, staring him into his eyes. Kate shook her head, feeling her words get stuck in her throat. He threatened that there was no one who could save him, that all of his friends were dead. Scar finished, just above a whisper. It's Gerald, Scar. I wanted his head. I could feel the pleasure he had as he pinned you to that tree. I could see the terror you were experiencing. He enjoyed it. He relished it. I hated every minute of it, but I couldn't stop him. Couldn't. I know, Scar whispered. His bright demeanor had vanished, and Kate couldn't help but hear the pain in her friend's voice. It's not your fault, Kate. You didn't hurt me. You didn't. But I hesitated when the man threatened to hurt you today. Hesitated, Kate blurted. He was in my head, Scar. I've tried to ignore it, but I can't. I need to know what Liam found in my sample. You need to know how bad this is. I'll ask him, Scar replied. I'll let you know what I know as soon as I do. I promise. No one here wants to hide that from you. Not even Clara? Kate asked. She's as worried about you as we all are. Scar said sadly. We only know where you are thanks to cords from the communicator, but it can only do so much. He chuckled as he added, should have been there when Julius realized Robert took you with him. You really helped him, you know. Kate shook her head. I don't want him to hurt my friends. What else could I do? Try to keep your chin up, okay? Scar said gently. I know this may be scary, but we will help you get through it. I'll let Impulse and Green know you're there next time we have that nightmare together. They were getting close to finding me, I think. I hope they do. Kate shuddered. I don't want you to experience that again. I don't want you to either. Scar insisted. We'll get in touch soon. Promise? I promise, Kate agreed, ordering her friend to stay safe before saying goodbye. She stared down at the silent communicator on her lap, part of her wondering just how many of the thoughts in her head were even hers. Could she trust herself to do the right thing when it counted? The fact that she has to ask that question. Tricky. Chapter 5. We have time. We have plenty of time. Let's go on. Caitlin, your breakfast is on the table. The boom of her father's voice reverberated through the house. Kate groaned, rubbing the sleepers from her eyes. She must have gone back to sleep after talking to Scar. The nightmare they had shared still echoed in her mind, replaying the horrible feelings of triumph and glue. And glee Gerald had felt when he caught his victim. The glee at the belief that he'd won. Had he won? Kate shook her head. No, Gerald was dead. There was no coming back from what Julius did to him. He had won. Yes, he hurt Scar, but he hadn't achieved what he set out to do. Kate walked over to the closet, opening it as she looked at took in the dozens of outfits that were hanging on the rack or folded in clear boxes. There were a multitude of colors, like they had been bought off brand new. Whose clothes are these? She reached up and touched the forest green tunic embroidered with gold leaves stitched along the sleeves. The outfit included black pants with frills at the feet. The fabric was soft to touch, almost like touching a pillow. She took the outfit, shedding off her old, ripped and worn clothes. They were filthy anyway, unless she could pretend to be a princess in a palace. What did princesses even do? Kate straightened her brand new tunic, twirling in a circle as she smiled. Only the best for my family, her father's voice whispered. The smile faded. What did these clothes cost? Sure, probably a lot of money, but where did that money come from? She knew nothing ever came free. Pushing the uneasy thought aside, she left her bedroom, coming down the stairs. Her mother was nowhere to be seen. Kate presumed she was probably in the kitchen. She found her father sitting in the far end of the kitchen table, a plate of eggs, bacon, and toast in front of him. In the chair beside him was another plate. Thanks. What's the fanfare, Dad? Kate raised an eyebrow, dragging the plate farther down the table before taking a seat. I thought I would treat you with something special. Her father smiled. Especially as it is the first day of school in months. School? Kate looked up at her father. Half of the slice of toast in her mouth. It only makes sense. You're behind your studies after what happened, the man replied, completely oblivious to the horror on the girl's face. I want my daughter to be well educated. I had a talk with the principal of Blossom Meadows Middle School, and he agreed. Your sessions start today. I know a bit of history and biology thanks to Ailey and Liam, Kate pointed out. That's good, the man nodded. Then I suspect you should do just fine. Kate looked down at the hall. the half-eaten toast in her hand. There are no sponsors for this school? Not as far as I'm aware. He shrugged. Oh boy. This went poorly. I don't see why that would concern you. Isaac said the school he went to was overseen by Mr. A. His entire life was destroyed because that man wanted him to join. Well, you should be just fine, man, her father replied. I'll have one of the class members walk with you there and pick you up after school. He cleared his throat. I expect you to be on your best behavior. Kate nodded, taking another bite of toast. What was she to expect of Blossom Meadows? Were there any combat training courses? Would the kids be nice? The teachers? Her mind whirled at the new things that were happening around her. She'd been taken from her friends, brought to this place, and there so happened to be a school nearby. Finish up your breakfast. Your bag is waiting for you by the door. The man got to his feet. What will you do in the meantime? I'll be in my office, working. Her father narrowed his eyes before he turned and left the dining room, leaving the unfinished plate on the table. She stared at where he disappeared before letting out a sigh. Her father had yet again done something without telling anyone. Did no one realize how dangerous this was? What if someone recognized her? What if one of Dr. Rensto's goons were there? Would the cause member be able to stop him from just grabbing her? Who did these men even take orders from to allow her father to take such risks? She wanted to go back into her room and lock herself in. She wanted to find her father and demand him to reconsider. But there was no point. She knew that. Once her father made up his mind, there was no changing it. She pushed the plate away. She got up. Sure enough, she found a sparkly bright blue backpack filled with everything she would need. Books, papers, pencils, pens, and even some markers. Not a kid, she grumbled. Yet she swung her bag over her shoulder, walking to the door to meet her escort. The man was no older than 25. He was tall and lean, with sand-yellow hair and dull blue eyes shaded under a cap. He wore a black vest over his uniform and a bulky belt filled with tools. There were shadows under his eyes, as if he'd been on duty the night before. The man gave her an attempt of a smile. You must be Caitlin. I'm Jack Underwood, but you can call me Uncle Jack if you like. I'm fine, thanks. Kate narrowed her eyes. She did not take his hand. How did she know that she could trust him? He could be working for those traders. We may as well get on with it. Right. School's near a village 10 miles from here. Let me guess. The village name is Blossom Meadows. It's by a cherry grove biome, so it makes sense. And these guys couldn't come up with a better name. Jack shrugged. It wasn't there when they named the village. Great. I'm going to a government-funded school. Cheer up, Kate. You'll do just fine. Jack. What? Jack punched her shoulder playfully. Government-funded schools aren't typically sponsored, so my guess you won't have to worry about Dr. Rhinestone showing up at your doorstep. You sure know a lot about these things. Kate gave him a slight glance. Tony is very adamant about knowing about the area and its culture. Schools are expensive. You work for Tony? She asked, meeting his gaze. Was Jack one of the good guys after all? Could you truly trust him? Most of us do, the man chuckled. Tony's a good leader, but not everybody likes him. Because he's friends with Stampy? Jack hesitated before he looking around. She shouldn't mention something like that out loud, especially not at Blossom Meadows. Kate frowned. Why not? Rumors have been going around. Some of them paint him in a very bad light, Jack warned. There are people who think he's the leader of a resistance group plotting to enslave humans. Her eyes widened. You're joking, right? Jack shook his head. You should avoid mentioning him, or anyone associated with him, understood? Kate swallowed. Understood. Now why don't we take a moment to enjoy the scenery? Isn't it lovely? Jack gestured to the field of flowers around them. Sure enough, Kate could see the hints of a cherry grove in the distance. She smirked at Jack's attempt to change the subject. Kate could see its point. Sam had to do something similar before staying permanently in Lovely World. Sadness crept into her thoughts. She thought about him. Stampy had left in the hopes of sparing his friends more pain and suffering because of him. Would he only be remembered as a traitor and a rebel leader now? Not the hero she knew he was? And wasn't here to defend he wasn't here to defend himself. But could he? Would he be able to deconstruct these lies Gerald had started? He knew he couldn't win. That's why he left. The whisper crashed into her mind as the girl winced. Had Gerald won after all? Or was there a bigger game that Stampy was playing? She wished she could ask him, but she probably would never get the answer she wanted. Perhaps it didn't even matter. Only time would tell. And that is going to be the end of that video. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. And stay tuned for chapter 6 next week. And, yeah. Feel free to leave any theories down in the comments below if you're interested. Or any comments in general, like questions or other stuff. And if you do like these videos and you have watched all the way through, let me know. Apparently, it's showing that nobody's watching till the end. But, well, there might just be a few people. And those few people who are willing to listen through this and enjoy the show and just do their own thing, good for you. Good for you. Yeah. I'll see you guys in the next one.